Multilinguals, what's your they didn't realize I could understand their language story? I'm born to Russian immigrants. Whenever my family and I travel abroad, we almost exclusively speak Russian and tend to get better attitudes from people when they don't think we are American tourists. When I was 12 or so, we were in a cafe in Belgium and a large group of 20-something guys walk in. My dad gets a worried look on his face, drops his voice, and says we are Americans right now. He explained to me later that they were Chechen gang members at the time when Chechnya was at war with Russia and anti-Russian sentiments were extremely high. Remember, no Russian. Sorry. When I was in Romania, as a Hungarian, I went to buy some food in a small town. I didn't know people in the restaurant were ethnic Hungarians, so when I asked for my food in English, the guy shouted a burger for this F***cker in Hungarian to the kitchen. I was curious how it would end, so I pretended I didn't understand. When he got me my food and asked for double the price, I said, now in Hungarian, look, dude, you can give me that for normal price, or I'm leaving it, but I sure as hell ain't coming back to UMFS ever again. I've posted this on other threads before, but I think it fits here. I lived in Japan when I was little and retook Japanese in college, so I didn't sound like a child when I spoke. To solidify my new language skills, I went to my hometown for about 6 weeks a summer in college. It was a small town, so most people remembered me or my family, but some people I stayed with, 6 weeks, 11 families that at least wanted me to spend a night in their home, were new to the area, since we left 15 years or so earlier. One of these families had a high school aged son who wanted to borrow me for his high school's international festival. No problem. I'd go and let other high schoolers practice their English with me and do carnival games and stuff. However, the guy apparently did not get the message that I spoke Japanese and proceeded to introduce me to all his friends as his girlfriend. I'll let him have his moment for the night without leading him on, but on the train ride back to his home, he was talking to his friend in Japanese, and I joined in on the conversation. Also in Japanese. The embarrassment on his face was worth knowing all his friends thought I was his girlfriend. You're way too kind. I'm not sure I could have done it without screwing with him a whole lot. Either that or laughing every time you got introduced. Man, I figure high school is hard enough without making this guy, who basically had the cliche my girlfriend in Canada who's totally real, and probably not a whole lot of self-confidence, life worse. I did enjoy the minor screwing with him at the end of the night, when I basically revealed I knew exactly what he was doing. I was a Mexican living in Germany with a Chinese school assigned roommate. He claimed to not speak any English and my German wasn't good, so we weren't able to communicate. My German roommates then claimed he told them he didn't speak any German, so I gather he was antisocial. I took 3 years of Mandarin in high school, but I didn't try using it on him. About 3 months in, he and another Chinese student got off the bus at the same stop I did, and we all walked together to our flat. Heard him talking about me and his friend laughing but held back. Once we got to our flat, I opened the door and told them to please enter in Chinese. I still remember his shocked face. His friend later complimented my Chinese, while a few weeks later my roommate claimed my Chinese was so bad that he couldn't understand me. I seriously think he just wanted no contact with me. Possibly because he never followed the cleaning schedule. Sounds like the guy was an asshole and was using any excuse he could to be one. I seriously think he just wanted no contact with me. Possibly because he never followed the cleaning schedule. I think this is a common tactic. I have to deal with a lot of tenants that have English as their second language. Whenever rent or inspections are past due, up goes the language barrier. I'll try to simplify this for non-poker players, but just know that 8 beats 7s. I was in Detroit and playing cards for a little higher stakes than I'm used to, and this obnoxious group of Lebanese guys come to throw their money around. They weren't good at all. Just bet big and bluffed a lot. I took a stand with pocket aids and ran into a flop of 4 10-gel rainbow. I called a big proflop raise of $50, 4 ways, and you chuds all in for $450 more. Everyone fold around to me, and I think for a bit. His friend asked what he has against the rules, in Arabic, against another rule, and he answers Saba Saba, which means 7 to 7. I look up and say call and tell him shukran thank you, in Arabic. I'm Asian, so it was obviously unexpected. The table erupts in laughter and he actually was a good sport about it. He got roasted by his friends for the rest of the night and most of the people there just ended up taking their money anyway. Edit. Yes, I still got jargon Y in the middle, but poker players always want context. No, the 7 didn't come. No flush. No straight. I learned Arabic living in Detroit and working in Dearborn Heights, the highest population density of Middle Eastern people outside of the Middle East. Also, I guess I could have kept taking advantage of knowing the language, but they were being magnoon and pissing off the dealers already, so it was sweet justice. Read another story like this on another thread about Asian people in the US who were trying to cheat another player out of the game. Dealer immediately told them in their own language that if she caught them trying to cheat again then they'd be kicked from the game without their money. I live in Austria, but my dad is from Brazil. All my Austrian aunts and uncles married a Brazilian. My grandparents from my mother's side opened and lead a factory of our family company in Brazil. That's why everyone was there, but some eventually came back to Austria, just like my mom with my dad. Me and my siblings were raised multilingual, but lived most of our life in Austria. So once when I was around 10 my mom and me were on a tram in Vienna with my little brother, who was around 2 at the time, in a stroller, and he starts crying, really loudly. Then one Brazilian lady starts speaking really loudly, and in an obnoxious tone something in the lines of, well, these European folks don't know how to treat their children with love. How can someone be so cold and unaffectionate to a child as to let them scream without taking them out of the stroller and holding them? We were standing BTW. There was no seat big enough at the time where we could leave the stroller, so I was getting worried we were doing something wrong. I wanted to comfort my brother and get him out, but my mom stopped me and really loudly said in Portuguese, "Leave him. It is too dangerous to take him out of the stroller while we are standing here and the tram is moving." You could see the woman's face go from red to white and back to red, get up and get out so fast at the next exit that we just started laughing, and my brother ultimately calmed down. Not really exciting, but I find it funny when I think back. I've said this before. It happened a while ago. I went to a psychiatric emergency ward once and asked for help and if they were comfortable to speak English. I understand Danish, but have a hard time making myself understandable in it, and didn't really feel like an idiot at a crucial time of my life. I stayed there for 4 days without anyone realizing I knew what they were saying about me right in front of me. 2 of the nurses thought I was cute. 1 doctor thought I was lying all the time. A patient thought I was a spy for the staff. A lot happened in those 4 days. It made my stay way more enjoyable than it should have been. I actually have a reverse story. I had to act as if I didn't speak a language. I was going back home after having studied for a while in Uppsala, Sweden, and during the time I spent there, I had the occasion to learn quite a lot of Swedish. Anyways, to go back home, I had to buy a train ticket to Arlanda airport from Uppsala Central to get to my flight, which was really early in the morning, and I did so, but bought my ticket with the company Society of Jesus, Statens Järnvägar. However, the first train that arrived at the station and that was going to the airport was a Planslökolltrafik, different company, train which I did not buy a ticket for. Worried that I would be late to the airport, I still took the train thinking that they almost never check the tickets, and thinking that my ticket might actually work for that company as well. Well, they did check that day. The controller asks me in Swedish to see the ticket. So I hand it to him, and he looks at me and says in Swedish, "Wrong ticket." So I decide to do the dumb tourist and I pointed to my passport and said in bad French accent, "Sorry, I don't speak Swedish," and I explained that I thought this ticket was the right one to go to the airport. He immediately gave me my ticket back and said that it was okay, but to check next time to buy the right ticket with the right company in English. So I got off without any fine or anything like that because I faked not being able to speak Swedish. I still feel bad about it today. If the controller that met me that day is readying this, I just want to say, takoch FRLT. Heh, I had something sort of similar happen in Mexico. I drove the wrong way down a one-way street in a little town. Thankfully, so there wasn't much traffic. We got pulled up by a police officer on a motorcycle. My partner speaks fluent Spanish, but I don't. She didn't say a word. Eventually the cop got bored of my awful attempts at Spanish and escorted us up the road the wrong way. Thus, a long time ago, my brother had a habit of making remarks about people in Spanish whenever he got annoyed, frustrated, or just wanted to make fun of someone, kinda like a gossiping schoolgirl. I told him it wasn't cool, not because he shouldn't be talking Spanish in public, but that he shouldn't be using it in such an underhanded way. If he had a grievance that he needed to get off his chest, he should tell them in a language they are likely to understand where we live, English. He kept doing it anyway. One time, we were leaving a major retailer and the store greeter asked to see his receipt before he could exit with the bagged merchandise in the cart. He had a hard time finding where he put his receipt, and he got frustrated. He switched to Spanish and said some variety of "this old bitch," and the store greeter immediately called him out on it in Spanish. He was like a deer caught in the headlights. I was so happy she did it. He made a weak attempt at reasserting his right to be frustrated at the situation, but you could see he was very embarrassed at having been caught talking trash in Spanish. I love my brother, but I'm glad he stopped doing that soon after.